This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. What a wild day of news for the Cleveland Browns. I had a video planned for today. I was going to do a film breakdown of every throw that Deshaun Watson had. So now I'm going to have to probably release that video, tomorrow morning, maybe. But a lot of news has broke today, with Deshaun Watson and with the Browns bringing in Cadarius Toney. Let's talk about it. First things first, from Pro Football Focus, not Pro Football Focus, my bad. From Pro Football Talk, there's an article about Deshaun Watson and a new case that is being filed against him. And this is something that is alleged to have happened in 2020. Now, the current terms of Deshaun Watson's agreement with the NFL and his agreement with the Cleveland Browns is that no new cases can be brought forward on Deshaun Watson. If there is a new case that's brought forward, he can be suspended on it. The question for this case, because it did happen while he was still on the Texans. That's one of the important parts of this allegation, is that it is being alleged that it happened while he was on the Texans. The question is this one of the cases that he disclosed, or situations that he disclosed to the Houston Texans, the NFL, and the Cleveland Browns, that could come up or has come up? Or is this a case that the NFL did not know about when they made the ruling and is new? And how valid is the case? Not a lot of details have come out about the case. We do know that this case is a little bit different. Let's read the article from Mike Florio specifically. He says, Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson faces a new lawsuit for sexual assault and battery. The allegations are stronger than most of the claims made against Watson in the past. The league has previously suspended Watson for violating the personal conduct policy. Does this new lawsuit put him at risk of further action? As of right now, the NFL has declined to comment on the action. Separately, the Browns have not responded yet for a request for comment. We'll explain later what that means and the extent of this new lawsuit means and the potential impact on Watson's contract with the Cleveland Browns. So as of right now, that's all we have on this. We have very little information about this case, about the specifics of it, and if the NFL and if the Cleveland Browns knew that this case could be filed when they originally suspended Deshaun Watson for violating the personal conduct policy. My understanding is if this is something they knew about, then it doesn't affect the terms of that original suspension, and he can't be suspended again for that, and the Browns can't cut him and not have to pay out the contract due to the clause they have in the contract. If Deshaun Watson is suspended again, he can be cut with all the guarantees being voided. So if that's the case, if they knew about this, if the NFL knew about this, if the NFL was aware of this when they made that original suspension, that means they can't suspend him again, which means the contract can't be voided by the Cleveland Browns. If this is a new case, even though it happened in 2020, because I think a lot of people feel like the way that the suspension works is that it was a suspension for anything that could have possibly happened when he was on the Texans. That is not the case. It is a suspension for everything that they know about that could have possibly happened when he was on the Texans. If this case is something that he did not disclose and the NFL finds it to be credible, then they can suspend Deshaun Watson again via the personal conduct policy. And if that is the case, the Cleveland Browns will likely void the contract if it comes up, right? I doubt the Browns will stick with Deshaun through another suspension when they don't really have to. And honestly, the play on the field doesn't even incentivize it if you're just looking at this in the most cynical lens. Like, even if Deshaun was playing great football, I think this will put the Browns in a situation where they would probably have to cut ties, even if he was playing good football. So that's what's out there with the new case. Now, there have been situations like this almost every year. Deshaun Watson has been a quarterback on the Cleveland Browns where a case gets brought up or a new civil suit gets filed or something that has to do with everything that Deshaun was allegedly doing when he was on the Houston Texans pops up, and it ends up being something that turns into nothing. But this is a little bit more unique because the allegations in here are a bit more serious than allegations made in the past. We'll see if it's credible. If this is something that the NFL finds to be new and credible, I'm pretty sure sooner than later we'll find out that the NFL feels like that's the case. I don't think this is going to be something they're going to let linger for months here. So we'll see. That's the news with Deshaun Watson and the new lawsuit against him. Right now, the NFL and the Cleveland Browns have not commented on it, which can mean a number of things, but doesn't mean one thing specifically. Second thing that happened today is the Browns brought in Cadarius Toney to be on the practice squad. Now, this is becoming bigger news and a bigger deal than I feel like it has any reason to be honest with you. It's a wide receiver being on the practice squad. It's a very popular wide receiver, or at least a very famous wide receiver in Cadarius Toney. He's going to be on the practice squad. It is what it is with him. It is what it is. The timing is bad on this because, I mean, public perception of the Cleveland Browns locally and nationally could not be lower than it is right now. And signing Cadarius Toney on top of everything else doesn't help. But it's a practice squad signing at the end of the day. I'm not going to lose my mind over it. And now reports about David Njoku and his ankle injury. It's feared that it's a high ankle sprain. I believe the timeline on a high ankle sprain is about a month. It depends on how you recover from it. It's one of those things that has a high variance in recovery times, right? So if you look at it on Google, the Cleveland Clinic says it's about 6 to 8 weeks. Some guys play through high ankle sprains. Some guys sit out a couple weeks. Some guys sit out a month. Some guys sit out 3 months for a high ankle sprain. But it does seem like it's a high ankle sprain. Everything indicates that this is a high ankle sprain for David Njoku, and that is everything. I wish I had happier news to talk about this week. I wish we could be talking about Jack Conklin getting back to practice, Jed Wills getting back to practice, some positive news, and maybe that'll happen Tuesday once the team gets back into the building. But it does not. It's not great that the Browns are compounding what was an awful Sunday with some news here on Monday that doesn't feel great either. So it's been a tough week but also I think the focus really has to be on this week at Jacksonville and the Browns really doing everything they can to bounce back from that. And if they think Cadarius Toney on the practice squad can help them bounce back against Jacksonville, then so be it. Again, it's a dude on the practice squad. I see why it's getting the reaction it's getting, but we got to acknowledge that the reaction is a bit overblown at this point. I think just people don't like Cadarius Toney. So that's really it there for the news with the Cleveland Browns. David Njoku high ankle sprain, new case brought about with Deshaun Watson. It's a little bit different than the other times this has come up, and it's been not really a big story. We'll see if this turns into anything by how the league handles this. If the league thinks this is something, then we'll probably see them do something at some point here. But we'll see. We'll see here. And Cadarius Toney on the practice squad, probably replacing James Prochet on the practice squad. And that's about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Having a better night. Peace.